for this project, I'm going to be using Loops and Threads Facets, which is acrylic. Each skein has 279 yards. This is a medium weight 4. It does recommend using a 6mm hook, but I'm actually going to be using a 5mm hook because I find that it's actually pretty thin, and the 6mm hook just creates a swatch that has far too many holes, in my opinion. You will need some scissors, and if you want, you can use stitch markers to identify your first stitches at the end of each row. So to get started, I'm going to make a slip knot. And I'm going to be making a small medium. So for the small medium, I'm going to chain 59. So once I have a chain of 59, I'm going to half double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So I'm going to be skipping this first one here, and I'm going to work into the second one. To do a half double crochet, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. So that is your first one. And if you want to, you can just put a stitch marker where your first stitch is, because once you get to the end of it, it will look a little bit sort of on the side, but you want to make sure to not miss it when you come back around. So now you are simply going to work half double crochets all the way down your chain until you get to the end. All right, so once I've worked all the way down, I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work over. And now you're simply going to repeat what we just did. So you're going to work half double crochets all the way down our row. And you're going to repeat this until you have a total of 24 rows. So I will meet you at the end of 24 rows. So just make sure that when you get to the end, you chain 1 and then you turn your work over and you continue working those half double crochets. So I've worked 24 rows in my panel of just the half double crochets. And now we're going to do row 25. So for row 25, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to do 2 decreases at the beginning here, and I'm going to be doing 2 decreases at the end. So in the next 2 stitches, I'm going to half double crochet 2 together. To do this, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, pull up a loop, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all 4. So I am going to be doing a second decrease. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to half double crochet 2 together. And then I'm going to continue working half double crochets until I have 4 stitches remaining at the end of this row. So I've made it up to the end of my row, and now I have 4 stitches remaining. So I'm going to be doing 2 half double crochets 2 together. So for the first one, I'm going to grab this first stitch, grab the second stitch, yarn over, pull through all 4, and I'm going to repeat this for the last 2. All right, so I decreased twice here at the end and twice at the beginning. So we went down from having 58 stitches to 54 stitches. Now for row 26, it's just gonna be a normal row. So I'm going to chain 1 and I'm gonna turn my work over. And for this row, you're simply gonna do what we did for the entire panel here. So it's just gonna be half double crochet all the way down. So you're just gonna work normal half double crochets all the way down. So you will still have 54 stitches at the end of this row. Okay, so I completed row 26, which was just half double crochets all the way down. Next, I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work over. And now we're basically going to repeat row 25. So we're going to be doing 2 decreases in the first 4 stitches here, and we're going to be doing 2 decreases in the last 4 stitches here. So you're going to half double crochet 2 together 2 times at the beginning, and same thing at the end. So there are my 2 decreases, and I'm just going to keep going all the way down until I have 4 stitches remaining, just like I did in row 25. And I'm going to work 2 sets of 2 half double crochets. And at the end, I'm going to be working 2 half double crochet decreases. So again, for this row, we're going to be decreasing by 4 stitches. So you will be down to 50 stitches at the end of this one. Next, for row 28, we're going to be repeating row 26. So we're going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work. And for this one, you're just going to be doing half double crochets all the way down your row. So that is the same that we were doing down here. So that will be row 28. So I just completed a row of just the half double crochet. So that was row 28. Now for row 29, I'm going to repeat what I did for the decrease row. So I'm going to chain 1, turn my work over. And for this row, I'm going to be doing 2 decreases here and 2 decreases at the end. So I'm essentially repeating the sequence that I've been doing. So this will be a decrease row as per row 27 and 25. So I just completed my decrease row. So this is row 29. So at row 29, you would have 46 stitches. Now for row 30, it's gonna be, you guessed it, a row of just half double crochet. So we're gonna be chaining 1, turning our work, and we're just gonna work a half double crochet row all the way down. And so that is row 30. So I completed my row 30, and now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm gonna turn my work over. And we are going to be doing 1 last row of decrease. So again, for a decrease, I'm going to half double crochet twice. So that's the first one, and into the next 2. And then you're going to half double crochet all the way down until you have 4 stitches remaining, and you're going to be doing 2 half double crochet 2 together in the last 4 stitches. So this is your last decrease row, and this is row 31. All right, so at the end of my row 31, I will have 42 stitches. And now what you're gonna do for rows 32 to 44, they're just gonna be half double crochet rows. So you're just gonna be basically repeating what you did down here. So just rows of half double crochets, no decreases, nothing. So you're gonna do this again from row 32 to 44. Now that I have completed my rows here, so now I have 44 total rows in my panel, I'm going to be forming the first strap. So with my yarn still attached, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work over. And now I'm going to half double crochet into the next 11 stitches. Next, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work back over. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip my first stitch, and I'm going to place 10 half double crochets in the following 10 stitches. So you're just gonna skip the first one that you would normally work into. All right, so now I'm down to 10 stitches on my second row of the strap formation. I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work over again. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to half double crochet into the first 8 stitches. And what I'm going to do at the end here is I'm going to skip a stitch, and in the last stitch I'm going to place 1 half double crochet. So now we're going to be down to 9 stitches on our row. And I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work over once again. And now we are going to skip the first stitch and I'm going to half double crochet into the next 8. So skipping the first one, so 1, 2. So now I am down to 8 stitches, and now I'm going to chain 1, turn my work over, and I'm going to half double crochet into the first 6 stitches. And I'm going to skip the next stitch and place a half double crochet into the last stitch. And we will now be down to 7 stitches. I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work over one last time. And now I'm going to skip the first stitch and I'm going to half double crochet into the next 6. And that is the end of our first strap formation. So now you can just pull your yarn through your last loop and you can cut that off. And now what you're going to do is you're going to attach your yarn into your other corner here, and you're going to repeat exactly the same steps that we just did for this strap formation. And that will be the end of our front panel. All right, so like I just wrote in the video, you have to repeat rows 1 to 44 for your back panel. And actually, so now that I have 44 rows, I'm going to continue for 4 more rows. So row 45, 46, 47, 48 will be 4 more rows of the same thing, so the half double crochets. So chaining 1 and then turning your work and half double crochet all the way down your row. So again, you're going to do this for 4 more rows. So I completed the 4 rows, so 45, 46, 47, and 48. And now I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work over. And we're going to be doing 2 rows to just form the strap. So I'm going to half double crochet in the next 6 stitches only. Five and 6. And then I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work over, and I'm going to half double crochet into the next 6 stitches. So there is your strap for the back piece. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave a tail that's gonna allow me to close this. So I'm gonna leave about, to be safe, I would say about 24 inches, just to have extra. I'm gonna cut my yarn, and I'm going to pull my yarn through my last loop. And now what you're gonna do is you're going to attach your yarn here, and you're gonna repeat those 2 rows to form the other strap on your back panel. All right, so now that I have both of my panels, I put my back panel first on the table, and then I put my front panel on top. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to go into my first stitch here and into the first stitch on the back panel, and where I left my tail of 24 inches, I'm going to pull that through both panels, and I'm going to do a chain of 1 to secure. And I'm gonna be doing slip stitches to secure this together, but you can choose to do any other method if you want to. So I'm just gonna go through both loops on both panels, pull my yarn through, and then pull my yarn through again. So I'm gonna do this for my 6 stitches. All right, so once I've slip stitched through my 6 stitches, I'm simply going to pull the yarn through the last loop. And now what you're gonna do is you're gonna repeat the same thing on this side. And as you can see, this is not at the right end, so just turn your whole work over this way. And you're gonna repeat the same steps that we just did on the other side. All right, so now you have both of the seams done. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna close the side seams here. So that will be our next step. All right, so I'm still on the wrong side, so with my shoulder seams facing the outside, and I just turned my vest onto its side. So now what you're gonna do is you're going to align both of your panels in the corner here. And I'll probably just use some stitch markers just to make sure that everything is aligned, each row is aligned. So do that, and we will attach our yarn into this corner here to start this seam. So I went ahead and I attached my yarn through both of my panels. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up a loop, and I'm going to chain 1. And now I'm just gonna repeat what I did for the shoulder seam. So I'm gonna be doing slip stitches all the way up to where my stitch marker is. And this was placed at the last row before I started my decreases. So where this shoulder, this sleeve dip, begins. So you're gonna slip stitch all the way up to here, and then you're gonna fasten off your yarn. So there's not really any method to this. Just try and make sure that your rows stay aligned while you're doing this. All right, so now that I assembled everything, I turned my vest right side out. So we have our seams here. So now what you're going to do is we're going to attach our yarn at the bottom to do the bottom ribbing. So just make sure that you are on your right side. So I am going to attach my yarn close to my seam here, just so the seam is more invisible. And I'm going to insert my hook where I've attached my yarn, and I'm going to pull up a loop, and I'm going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm just gonna turn my work over like this. So once I have my chain of 7, I'm going to single crochet starting in the second chain from the hook. So you're going to have 6 single crochets, and now you're going to do is you're going to slip stitch into the following 2 stitches on the base of your sweater. So 1 and 2, and now you're going to turn your work, and we're going to work back up our chain into the back loops only, and you're going to be skipping the 2 slip stitches that you did. So just make sure you don't work into those 2 slip stitches. And so your first stitch is going to be this one right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And once you get to the end here, you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work again. And you're just going to repeat those steps. So we're going to single crochet back loop only 6 times. And then you're going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches onto your vest, 1 and 2, and then we're going to turn our work and we're going to work up again through the back loops only. And at the end here, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And again, working back down. Into the back loops only. So you're going to continue these 2 rows until you've worked all the way around the bottom of your vest. And I will meet. Okay, so I went all the way around the bottom here, as you can see. And once I get to the end, you will be ending at the bottom here, so aligned with the bottom of your vest. And now for this step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just insert a stitch marker in this stitch here. And I'm going to turn this so inside out. You don't have to turn the whole vest inside out, but just turn it, your ribbing inside out. And now I'm just going to reinsert my hook into the loop that I had. And now we are going to slip stitch the ribbing closed. So you're just going to align your 2 ribbings. And again, make sure you're doing this on the wrong side of your vest. And for this panel here, I'm going to be going through the back loops only just to create the same look as the rest of my ribbing. So I'm going to pick up the other side and I'm just going to slip stitch through, making sure to align my stitches. All right, so I completed the slip stitches, and then I'm just going to pull my yarn through my last loop and cut that off. And you are done. So we're done the bottom ribbing. And now what you're gonna do is you're going to repeat the steps for the neckline. And for the neckline, we are going to be working back onto the right side, and I'm gonna start in the back here. So just make sure to turn this over. And now you're going to count your stitches, or you don't have to count your stitches, but you can approximately start in the middle here. So you're gonna attach your yarn, and we are going to repeat the exact same steps. So for the neckline ribbing, it's going to be a chain of 7, and you're gonna repeat the same 2 rows that we just did for the bottom. So there's nothing different at all. It's exactly the same thing. So next we're gonna do the armhole ribbing. So once again, you're working on the right side of your vest. I went ahead and I attached my yarn just along the seam here of the underarm. And we're going to be doing the exact same steps that we did for the bottom ribbing and the neckline ribbing, but instead of a chain of 7, I'm gonna do a chain of 5. So once you have your chain of 5, we're literally going to be repeating the exact same steps as our other ribbings. So I have my 4 stitches. And now this might seem a little bit trickier because you don't have designated chains like your neckline here or the bottom. It was very clear where the spaces were. So just make sure to approximately align each stitch with a row. So now we're gonna do the 2 slip stitches. So you can also just visually pick spaces that seem to be evenly spaced out. And now we're gonna do the same thing that we were doing. We're gonna turn our work over, and we are going to single crochet into the back loops only for the 4 stitches. And at the end here, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn our work over, and we're gonna repeat what we just did. So you're gonna keep doing this all the way around your arm opening. And when you get back around, you're going to turn your vest wrong side out, and you're going to slip stitch your ribbing closed on the wrong side. So you're gonna repeat this for the other arm, and then you will be done.